funding and different things, it's really an honor to be able to at least briefly introduce Zarina, who's been I'll just say, walked in a lot of our shoes. She's been at academic organizations, she's working at the NIH. She was even a professor of vascular surgery for a while, as she says, so that tells you about her commitment to this space. And as a great proponent for us at the National Institutes as the Chief of Vascular Biology Hypertension Branch, and she's going to give us a talk called Looking at AI, Looking Back at Us, Considerations for Retrospective and Prospective Machine Learning AI Use in Clinical Research. Serena, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, wait to see if you need to clap. Can I have? Yeah, okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So I want to thank Vascular Cures. It's been really an honor and a pleasure to be able to be engaging with such an important initiative that is focused on the patient welfare. For years now, I have not been able to attend for a few years, and I'm happy to be back. Isabel proposed this topic, so I'm going to talk about this topic. I'm going to start by saying that we cover a lot of territory from the very basic, fundamental molecular inner works of vessels all the way to large clinical trials. And AI has been on our mind lately. It's not my expertise, but I consulted with a lot of people inside and outside. And I'm very lucky that most of you who are experts in a variety of challenges and issues already presented, so I will be able to go a little bit faster. So, as discussed, AI is basically taking health and medicine by storm. We recently had the grand rounds presented by Dr. Eric Topol, and he underlined the many areas where AI is making really both the top journals and the news. You already heard about computer vision. He called it machine eyes, so I thought it was kind of an interesting parallel. The machine eyes looking into our eyes are now known to be able to predict or diagnose diseases that we never thought would be possible to be diagnosed in such an easy and non-invasive way. As you already heard, you can now learn a lot from even radiology, chest x-rays and other things. And there are a couple of areas that have been already highlighted that AI may be actually better than physicians. And I think it's good news because I think most of us could use more help and increase efficiency. So two areas that have been highlighted are the ability to summarize a large amount of information. And one area that I was actually surprised to find out about is that supposedly the Google AI is a little bit more empathic than the physicians, so patients actually found Google AI being friendlier to them. Of course, there are a lot of reasons for that we can discuss. So the good news is that according to independent reports, the government is doing pretty well in looking at using AI. It's outpacing most of the state and local agencies. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's happening in the government and more specifically than at NIH. We have several trans-agency groups that are looking at bringing together scientists and physicians and people who have knowledge of data science and so forth to put together groups that can leverage the AI in biomedicine. One of the upcoming funding opportunities, which I put down there, is going to look at potentially forming groups to make biomedical digital twins. And I want to say to Isabel, I'm happy to share the slides with you all. All the links are working, so if anybody is interested. So some of you are already very familiar with the notion of digital twin is creating a set of information that can actually mimic either a natural or an engineered environment that can be updated with new information received from the physical twin and can then predict and diagnose diseases. The bidirectional discussion between the digital and the physical twin is very important in this endeavor. So they are looking for people who are interested in engaging in creating some of these biomedical digital twins. My dream is that some of you will want to have a biomedical digital twin of the vasculature potentially. There are HHS is the Human and Health Services Department, efforts to figure out the requirements for the use of AI in subject research, in human subject research. And basically, it found that most of the AI research is compliant with the common rule that require that all interventions contribute to generalizable knowledge. But in regards to the human subjects, we always have to pay extra attention to their rights and their welfare. As you already heard, the Food and Drug Administration has been completely inundated with requests. They have processed more than 300 submissions for development of drug development, as well as over 700 submissions for all kinds of systems, software that's supposed to enhance clinical flow, improve design of clinical trials, and so forth. So artificial intelligence has become quite a big topic at the FDA. I think we are doing pretty well with the current commissioner, Dr. Califf, being a cardiologist and so forth. And they put together a list, and you probably are familiar with that, with guiding principles, what they expect to see if anybody is interested in submitting, and obviously they are interested in seeing submissions from multidisciplinary experts that implement best practices. The data sets are representative, and we talk about that a lot for the population that is intended to be used on. They want to have independent sets for testing, use the best available models, and never leave the machine on its up with what they. It's very important to have a very strong human-machine interaction. And last and not least, everything has to be monitored for performance and make sure that everything is actually delivering based on these good principles. The importance of having authorization for these algorithms from FDA has been also underlined by professional societies and together by the Radiological Society of North America because over 79, almost 80% of the requirement are in the area of radiology. So the fact that the design, we need to really have teams that work and AI scientists. They should use a common agenda language and expectations, and of course the clinical institutions will have to align with the recommendation and support the efforts. At the NIH, artificial intelligence also is on our agenda. There are policy and considerations guidance that have been put forward by representatives from all the institutes at the NIH. We have a couple of very defined initiatives One that is trying to address the fact that we have a gap in the workforce, and I think we all recognize most of us are good either in one or the other, but we are training now a new generation to probably be able to really be great translators in this area. The ethics, bias, and transparency for people and machines, and improving the artificial intelligence readiness in using the data that already exist in all the institutes. ICs are institutes and centers of the NIH. So the readiness for AI is similar defined as it was defined for other initiative domains organizations. I think Kate already introduced the FAIR principle. That means data has to be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So there are data criteria, technology criteria, and cultural criteria. And as I said, I'm happy that many of you spoke to many of these criteria, so I don't have to necessarily go into that. The two programs that I highlighted are the one that is Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning Consortium to Advance Health Equity and Research Diversity Program. I have to tell you that NIH is now also paying attention to the diversity of the principal investigator team. And I want to congratulate you for holding this event and having such a nice diversity of speakers and investigators. We also have a program that has been already initiated for a few years that's called Bridge to AI, that is seeking to do exactly what the name is saying. So not only bridge the technology and the various specialty, but also generate flagship sets of data that will be usable for future AI. And again, the FAIR principles are going to apply. We also have a large imaging data commons. Right now it contains mostly cancer-related images, but it's open to receiving other types of images. As you know, especially in the realm of images, the amount of storage necessary to have these things on, it's quite astounding. So there's a big investment in being able to provide that, as well as tool to analyze. The National Library of Medicine also has a very large database of genotypes and phenotypes, and some of you may be familiar with it. People call it dbGaP. This is a database where you can go and investigate the data that are already available, or you can submit your own data, and there are schemas that allow you to figure out how to navigate the submission process for your data. Obviously, the desire is to create a set that's going to be fair. A big data set that's sponsored by the NIH is that's under the name of All of Us. And this is also a very rich repertoire of all kinds of measurements, omic data, medical data, and we already have over 500,000 subjects that have been enrolled. And again, the whole idea of putting this together was in the hopes of having at some point the ability to mine such a large cohort of data. And if you look, I just tested, for instance, I put the world peripheral. As you can see, there are quite a few, and I don't know if you can see the numbers there, 10K, 20K samples or entries. So the numbers are quite respectable. If you put procedures, let's say put peripheral artery, you can also get quite a few hits. So this data is available for people who are signing up to use it. Now, at NHLBI, we have a strategic vision that's based on 4 pillars. One of them is understanding human biology and health, and reduce human disease, advanced translational research, and obviously educate the workforce. There are more granular things that are listed there, but one thing to note is that this year we went through a process that was called the strategic refresh, and public input was sought about adding some themes that will cut across, and those fit very well with the themes that were discussed here: data science and new technologies, addressing health disparities, community and patient engagement, the importance of lifestyle and the impact of place, as well as emphasizing supporting women's health through the lifespan. So these are going to be publicly communicated, I think, at the upcoming council, which will be soon. We are always seeking engagement from the main stakeholders, patients, physicians, primary care doctors, policymakers, whatever, whoever is interested in participating in this virtual cycle that takes us from discovery to translation, clinical trials, and all the way to implementation. And I remember somebody asked me yesterday if we also fund implementation, and the answer is yes. We have one division that's dedicated to implementation. Our leaders, actually NHLBI, Dr. Gary Gibbons is dedicated to putting together these very large advanced data sets and tools. And the one that we are working on now is called Biodata Catalyst. As you can see, it accumulated data from many studies. It has almost 500,000 participants, many variables, which I think is going to be a blessing and a challenge in the same time, obviously. And we have another one that's called BioLink that has also samples that were collected from many clinical trials as well as data, and you don't need any kind of special permission to go and potentially investigate, browse what we have. I would say that based on our analysis, this was extremely helpful to a lot of people who were able to start and put together proposals and show preliminary data, including the emerging investigators, new investigators who usually have to start from scratch. This is a very good place to start. We also have a very large effort that's called Transomics for Precision Medicine, or TOPMed. I would say if you look at the diversity is pretty good. We have, in terms of population diversity, as well as phenotype diversity, we have covered many conditions that are within the heart, lung, and blood, and more recently, sleep disorders that we cover in our institute. So the thought is that people are going to use such resources. Again, a lot of money has been already invested in these repositories, in the cloud, in the tools that people can use to be able to predict, hopefully preempt disease. So many of them are available immediately. Some of them are still being contributed with data and samples. Another trend that we've seen that became very important during the COVID research, when we had to get up and go almost with no time to breathe, literally and figuratively, putting together all the cohorts that have been studying various conditions within our institute. We created what's called a cohort of cohorts. So the reason I'm showing all these things here is because it's important to know that we have already a lot of data and resources, data, tools, specimens, and so forth to test hypotheses and potentially see what may be missing. So I know that I think at least Isabel was hoping that I will give you specific recommendations about what what may be the key challenges in terms of using AI for retrospective cohorts. As I said, I'm very happy to say that many of them have been already pointed out. So the data quality and completeness is very important. Harmonizing and integrating data from retrospective cohorts is sometimes challenging because obviously you have multiple sets that were collected in different places, maybe different dimensions and so forth. The patient selection bias is probably very important because most of them were collected for a specific reason, and there will be inclusion-exclusion criteria that will create a potential selection bias, as well as most likely confounding variables. More challenges, the time factor, obviously all these have been in the past, so there's not much you can do right now. Also sometimes may be very difficult to understand the relationship between cause and effect. Being able to generalize their conclusions, and obviously the ethical consideration, and one of them is making sure that the informed consent is used appropriately and we have data security. Now, one thing that I wanted to say is that these are conclusions that I think came from all the discussions today, came from my discussions with colleagues, reading the literature, looking at all the websites. I even took classes in AI, so I'm better prepared. But they were generated in about less than 5 seconds by NHLBI chat. So we do have such tools, and I thought it would be interesting to show you a test of our tools. Of course, I thought, why did I spend all this time? But it's a good thing to spend the time, because when this result was generated, I could validate it. I could say, yes, that's exactly what was on my list. So obviously, we have a good sentiment about the generative pre-trained transformers. So we have our internal GPT. I can say that we can now look at grants and other things, so be careful. Within seconds, we could use these things. This is sort of the cutting edge. There are a few of us who are testers and sort of early adopters. And so I encourage you to pursue the topic, because you can see that it actually generates a useful analysis in almost no time. If we continue with the prompts, there are special prompts you can put for this, and I suggest probably such classes exist. We had special classes on how to generate the prompts, because the machine will answer what you ask. So if your question is stupid, I think the answer might also be stupid. So similar challenges, some of them are similar, some are not when you look at prospective cohorts. So let's assume now you decide that you want to recruit people for such studies. Obviously, you'll have to work on recruitment and retention. You have to have a good plan for data collection management, and I would say also sharing. As you know, we require that. There is always the scary proposition of losing your enrolled people at follow-up, and the selection bias can again function here. You can see that the confounding variables are still a problem, ethical considerations, and of course the long-term follow-up and sustainability is a lot of work. So if you plan on doing that, you should have a plan for how you are going to do this and how you are going to fund it, because obviously it will cost a lot of money over long term. Needless to say, all these were generated again by AI. And when I asked to focus, my prompt was not identical, but I shortened it for the purpose of the title. So when you look specifically on doing this with NIH funding, as always, you have to establish very clear study objectives and hypotheses. You have to develop a very detailed study protocol. You have to implement robust quality control measures, and you have to address participants' recruitment and retention. Some of you may know this. NIH is very keen on keeping people on track. So if you propose to do a study or clinical trial and you fail to enroll patients, you can get into the red zone or yellow zone and soon be potentially completely off track, because we know that if you don't enroll enough participants, you may not be able to reach your conclusions. And obviously, you always have to work with statisticians who will have to work their magic and convince that the study is possible. More other NIH recommendations, obviously to consider the ethical and regulatory considerations, to monitor and address biases, plan for long-term follow-up and sustainability. Of course, you'll say, yes, we could do all this if we had a lot of money. So who is going to pay money to do this? So we do have a lot of tools that you can use. NIH has this website about grants and funding, and I want to tell you that it doesn't list only the NIH funding available, but the other agencies, the other HHS associated agencies, so you can find funding from various sources. You can enter specific keywords. And for instance, these are the opportunities that are open right now, so you can identify them by searching for your favorite topic. One thing that's very important, and I'm going to say, is that NIH actually is very interested in investigator-initiated research, which means that most of the money that is given to awards comes from proposals that come directly from you. If you can see the red line low there, that's the percentage of targeted research, meaning special initiatives, special calls for applications is about 10%. So do not wait for a specific thing that's called based on what you are interested in, although as you can see, there are some that are available right now based on AI and machine learning. We are always open for good proposals, and we are always interested in working with you on that. If you don't know how to know who to talk to, there is this tool that's called NIH Matchmaker, and you enter the abstract of your potential proposal or any text you think reflects what you are trying to do, and you can find out all kinds of things which institute will be interested, what type of mechanisms, are there other people who do similar research, you may even find collaborators. If you are interested in finding out staff who can advise you about all these, there is another tab there that's for our staff. And on the left side, you see now names. I don't know if you know, for this specific thing, I was the #1 match. And then immediately you can send me an email, and this is a real case scenario somebody wrote to me. And after that, we got to talk, and he got an R01. I have to say that I can advise, but I cannot write your proposal. Neither could I promise you that you'll get funded just because I thought your proposal was very interested. So as you know, there is a peer review system, and hopefully many of you are helping with that, because the peer review system is only as good as the people who are willing to engage in it. So the parting thoughts, these approaches are increasingly used to success. We believe that this is the way to go. I know that we have to learn a lot about how to improve and how to do it. I suggest that you recruit experts, AI experts, rather than trying to learn how to do it. I think most of us are great experts in one area or the other, and familiarity with another one will help, but probably nobody will be a real AI expert except if they were trained and they have experience there. It just occurred to me to tell you, which is an anecdotal thing, that in 2002, I worked with a colleague from Georgia Tech, and we had a machine learning algorithm that was able to identify disease vasculature. And so I could potentially say that I know something about this. We did 20-something years ago and even published, and I was surprised that nobody followed up on anything for about 20 years. But it's a new day, so we are all learning and picking up. So we have a lot of resources. So these include cohorts, tools, storage, experts, internal experts. So please do not hesitate to contact us and let us know what your ideas are. Be prepared to discuss if you need to add resources, cohorts, tools, and so forth. Tell us that you already know that those are not available, and obviously we will be happy to try to help you navigate. So acknowledgements to my colleagues, AI experts, websites, and to my new research assistant, NHLBI chat. Thank you.